This may be the absolute fastest that I ever film a video because I'm going to attempt to do it during the halftime of the Colts Denver Broncos game that is on right now. What's up, everyone? It is Josh here from No Butts About It, and normally I would film this video on Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday when Chus had some time to talk or when I just had more time to think about this more, but I think I'm done thinking about it because I have been thinking about it all day. Literally, it is the only thing I have been thinking about. And no, it isn't the Jermaine Burton touchdown catch from Logan Woodside, though I do feel a sense of obligation to show that to you if you missed it. So here it is. Yep, Jermaine Burton, amazing. First touchdown. Don't worry about that flag. It held up. It's no big deal. He's going to show it one more time here. Little stutter step. And there we go. Falls in for the touchdown. It counted. But no, what I've been thinking about all night, all morning today is this guy right here. And if you don't know who this is, don't feel bad because up until last night, I would say 98% of Bengals fans had no idea who this guy was. And this is Muma-Jong Meta. And I am going to do my best to learn how to pronounce his name and pronounce it correctly from here on out. But he is an undrafted free agent out of Wisconsin. He's a linebacker. He's 6 foot. I want to say 230 pounds. I wrote it down here. 230 pounds. And last night he had the most snaps out of any defensive player on the Cincinnati Bengals, and that was 44 snaps. And he was just all over the place. PFF credited him with 7 solo tackles along with 5 assists, and he ended up grading a 91.4, which was the highest of all the defensive players that PFF graded for the Cincinnati Bengals. He had a run defense grade of 90.2. His tackling was 83, and his pass rush was 69.8. But again, he's a linebacker, so we're looking more at coverage, which he had at a 74.4. It's also important to note that in the preseason, a lot of these coverages you're seeing are man coverages. They're not zone. We do see a little bit of zone, but what we saw most of last night was man. So this is just him going up against another receiver, against a tight end at that linebacker position. And the reason I'm so excited about this guy is because the Bengals don't really have a ton of depth at the linebacker position. Now, do they have guys at the linebacker position? Yes. They have Logan Wilson. They have Jermaine Pratt. If you want to throw Joe Bocci in there for the heck of it, sure. Okay. But after that, they don't really have it. There's no one who you're like, I trust that if Logan Wilson or Jermaine Pratt goes down for a game, I think they can take over, especially now that Marcus Bailey's gone. And the Bengals need someone who can do that. I don't think Devin Harper or Aaron Casey, who if you go look at ESPN's depth chart right now for the Cincinnati Bengals, are the guys who are listed as backups for all those other guys I just named. Muma isn't even on the list. He isn't even on the depth chart. He is purely off. He's only on the Bengals website, and I think that he is being overlooked. He became a starting linebacker in his junior year at Wisconsin. He was redshirted his true freshman year. He also had to deal with COVID. He had a ton of great stats. He finished the final 2 seasons of his college career with 154 tackles, 21 tackles for loss, and 6.5 sacks. He was 3rd team All Big Ten Conference honors in 2022. So he's got some credentials behind him. He's just not a big name. He went undrafted. He wasn't expected to be drafted, and the Bengals were able to bring him in. And just because a player goes unsigned, goes undrafted, doesn't mean that they don't have potential. And we've seen this time and time again, especially at the linebacker position. The most recent and comparable incident that I can think of off the top of my head is this guy right here. Ivan Pace Jr. Now, Ivan Pace Jr. was a rookie last season. He finished with 102 combined tackles, 39 assists, and 2.5 sacks with 1 interception. Do I expect Muma to put up those sorts of stats? No. However, there's other guys I'm going to talk about, obviously. We're still going to talk about Jermaine Burton. Obviously, I want to talk about Tanner McLachlan. There's the punters. There's all sorts of people to talk about on the Cincinnati Bengals. But something is really sticking with me with Muma. Muma was all over the place last night, and it's such an exciting thing to see. I love seeing these practice squad guys, these underdogs, these undrafted guys who you don't expect to do well doing stuff in these games when it matters most. And that's one of the reasons I like the preseason, because it's a make or break deal for these smaller, lesser known players. And people look at the preseason as this thing that doesn't really matter. And I guess in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't for the franchise, but for these players, for these individual people and their livelihoods, it does. And Muma is a guy who, at least against the Buccaneers, was taking that opportunity and doing the most with it that he could. So I'm rooting for him, and I want you to be rooting for him. And I just think he's someone who you should keep an eye on. He's not a big name. Again, he's a small Wisconsin Big Ten guy. I think he already made the 53-man roster in my mind, actually. But people, on Twitter were like, "Who is this guy? Who is this guy who's all over the place?" They keep saying his name, and it's Muma. We're gonna say it right. Muma-Jong Meta. Muma-Jong Meta. Boom, nailed it. Anyway, just wanted to hop on here and if you haven't looked at Muma-Jong Meta yet, check him out. Go look up the game from yesterday. Look at the replays. I guarantee you within 15 minutes of watching a replay of yesterday's game, you will hear his name at least 3 times. That's all I had to say. Nothing huge, nothing big. We're going to be talking about Jermaine Burton and all those other guys later this week on No Buts About It. But this was just a quick shout out for a guy who I think more people need to be paying attention to. If you enjoy these shout outs, if you enjoy people getting highlighted, I guess, that aren't usually highlighted, make sure to subscribe. It really helps us out, and it helps us spend time looking into more guys like Muma that might not get highlighted anywhere else. This is a football podcast for the average fan, where we kind of try to find people that don't normally get highlighted and make you sound smarter. So until next time, we appreciate anything you can do for us. Subscription, like, or comment. But if you can't do any of that for us right now, we appreciate you stopping by, and go do something nice for someone.